So Santa Claus is running for Congress, and he's a socialist.
Let's fucking go. I knew it.
You knew it.
I knew it since the beginning.
What can I say? It's
it.
like sounds fictional, right? Sounds fictitious.
Absolutely
you might think.
not.
Absolutely not. Exactly. There's this little town in Alaska, literally called North Pole. It's got like 2,000 people, and this city councilman, legally named Santa Claus, is going to be running for the one House seat that they have in a special election.
Go.
And he's running against the one and only Sarah Palin.
No way.
You love to see.
Is there
it.
no incumbent running?
He's fucking dead.
Oh,
that's why it's a special election. They're trying to fill his
special
term
election.
out till January. So,
Got you.
That's fun. Literally Santa Claus. And this dude fucks, actually. I was looking into it. A listener tagged me in a TikTok, like talking about it. That's how I found out about it. Shout out to you. And he's running on a platform of Medicare for all.
Nice.
Expanded like child welfare. Expansions like free and fair elections, including ranked choice voting and things like that. And
Nice.
he's a pretty cool dude and about Bernie supporter.
Nice.
And he looks like Santa Claus. He looks the part.
You know, despite the slavery that Santa engages in with the elves.
Oh, he disavowed that.
Good,
Don't you even
good.
worry.
He said that was a past life. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
Exactly.
I pay my workers fairly. Actually, the North Pole's a co-op now.
He's been reincarnated.
Exactly. He
into
said,
a
I
Bernie
believe in
bro.
workplace democracy.
Exactly. Love to see it.
Who you got in this election? Is he like the front runner for the
I don't think
Democrats?
so. But he was talking about, I got name recognition.
He does.
He does. He said, I think it's going to be between him and Palin. It's got to be. Alaska's deep red, so who knows?
On God. On God.
But I just think it's funny that this was like the first time in a long time that I've been reminded of Sarah Palin. And last time I feel like anyone's ever talked to her was in 2008 when I was literally 7 and was too young to understand politics. And so the only real memories I have of her are Tina Fey's SNL impression. Which is literally all I think of anytime I
thought they
think
were
of
the
her.
same person for a while.
No, like, tell me why my mental image of Sarah Palin was Tina Fey.
Right. Because, like, she ran for vice president when it was 2008.
Exactly.
And I thought they were the same person for a long time.
Yeah, no, every time I thought of Sarah Palin, I thought that it was just Tina Fey's impression. That's how good it was. It's cemented in the culture. And also, the epic rap battle of history between Sarah Palin and Lady Gaga.
Those are goated.
Which I rewatched in preparation, and it's gas.
It's the ones between candidates are always just gas.
The Obama and Mitt Romney one.
Oh my
fire.
goodness, bro.
Abe Lincoln flies in on the Eagle.
I pray that we can make content that good one day.
Facts.
Absolutely heat. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I know I said like last week that it was a really bad news week. We're getting a repeat. It's double trouble.
Getting a repeat. I hope that cold open could be like a piece of like a shining piece of light in this otherwise dim week. Because the rest of this news, it's all downhill from here.
I mean, yeah, we'll be joking, we'll be goofing, but a lot of this news, pretty terrible.
Awful.
Prepare yourself. Trigger warning in advance for literally everything we're going to talk about, specifically gun violence, but we'll get there.
We will.
Before we get into the news topics this week, you know what I want to remind you all of? Check out the Patreon.
We've got to shill.
Check out the TikTok. We got to shill for ourselves. Instagram. It's all in the description. We now have an extras account.
We do.
We uploaded our first live there. Our live got suspended.
Exactly.
For like 24 hours, basically. It said it was going to be a week. But then when we appealed it, we got censored for misinformation and it just cut the live off. That was ridiculous.
You know, the dude that we were arguing with probably just reported us, and then TikTok just took it straight down.
He was declaring victory, right?
He pulled the Trump. He pulled the Trump and amendment us, as we'll talk about later.
Little sneak peek. But yeah, the live is uploaded there. You can check those out. We'll be putting all of our lives there whenever we do them. So go ahead and subscribe to that in the description. In the description. Today we got to talk about the unfortunate Texas school shooting that happened earlier last week, I guess, for those that are listening right now. We got some updates on legislation, some election updates, and then the Supreme Court doing a really bad thing.
They do another thing every week.
Significantly bad thing. But before we get into that, let's read some reviews.
Ooh.
We got some brief ones today.
Short and sweet.
Brevity in these reviews today. The first one we got is 5-star review by John Green 14. Simple, to the point. He says, pretty good pod. Thumbs up emoji.
I love it. So short and sweet.
Next one, subject line, thank you, by Nick2759. They say, you guys are just fantastic at saying how ridiculous some things truly are. It's very refreshing.
What can I say?
We appreciate the reviews.
Like a cold glass of water on a hot summer day, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's us. That's us, but for politics. If you all want to support the show, go leave a 5-star review on Apple. We'll read it next episode.
Exactly, we will.
Check it out.
We'll try, unless it gets like buried like some of the reviews do sometimes. They don't come to the top for like a week.
Yeah.
And we miss them.
Yeah. Some people claim that we have already missed theirs.
In the unfortunate occurrence that we do, I'm sorry.
We'll get to it. We promise we'll try. All right, getting right into the news coverage this week. Trigger warning for gun violence, because that's what we're about to talk about. So we got to talk about the unfortunate Uvalde, Texas school shooting, and also an NRA convention.
The second shooting, right after. The second high-profile mass shooting in 10 days. Yeah. I believe this in Buffalo happened 10 days apart.
Yeah. So last week on Monday, there was a school shooting, again in Uvalde, Texas. It claimed the lives of 19 children and 2 teachers, making this the third most deadly school shooting in U.S. history, right behind Sandy Hook in 2012 and then Virginia Tech in 2007. There's a lot of information floating around about this story. There's some lies from the police. There's some reporting that may be accurate or inaccurate, depending on how true police reports are. So there's kind of a lot up in the air right now. But I wanted to talk about specifically first the context. It's like what led up to the moment. The police response, because that was
honestly even fucking crazier than the thing itself.
And then we got to talk about the political response and, of course, the NRA convention that I mentioned.
Yeah, guys, we've got to talk about how people are making this a political issue. Can you believe that?
Guys, this is just a lone shooter, and it's never been a political issue
It's just a lone wolf, guys.
Yeah. So, like I said, some details still unknown. But we're gonna talk about what we know. We're gonna talk about what we know and give our takes as we always do. First up, some context. So the shooter is 18-year-old Salvador Ramos. He had previously shown signs of having a potential to do something like a shooting before. He had alluded to doing school shootings on social media. I was going to say,
didn't he literally threaten to shoot up his school 2 years prior?
I don't know about that, but I know that he was on social media and talking to people on social media about doing something similar. I don't know if he ever explicitly said school shooting. But it was all the classic warning signs all that you think we would know.
Red flags, if you will.
Yeah. And then on May 17th and May 20th, he bought 2 AR rifles and 375 rounds of ammunition at a federal firearms licensee. So he went through all the federal regulations that exist in Texas right now. And before heading to Robb Elementary, he reportedly shot his grandmother in the head, who is now in the hospital. As of recording this right now on Sunday, May 29th, I don't know what her status is, but I think she survived at least this long.
That's fucking crazy.
No idea why he did that.
Gun regulations in Texas is basically a fucking oxymoron. Texas is so wild when it comes to their gun laws that the police unions the Fraternal Order of the Police actively lobbies against their expansions to gun rights. They lobby in the state legislature against it.
Yeah.
Coming with statistics like, guys, this just makes it more dangerous for us.
Yeah. And it's like that is true, but this is not even an argument they can use in this circumstance.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny how the right wing holds so many ideas that are so obviously contradictory, and they just live with it.
Yeah, I know. I'm pointing out the cognitive dissonance because obviously we'll get into the police response here, but
So the shooter arrived at the school around 11:30 a.m. on May 24th. He first crashed his car into a ditch, hopped out of the car with a bag full of ammo and his rifle. Before going into the school, there were 2 nearby witnesses, and he shot at them. Didn't hit either of them, but they started to run away, and they called the police. And now this is where it gets a little bit weird, because I was reading CNN's timeline on this, because they gave like a minute-by-minute breakdown.
Yeah.
They say that there was no school resource officer on the scene, and that the police hadn't stopped him before going inside. But I also saw other reports that there was a school resource officer on the scene, and police confronted him before he went in, and they didn't really do anything about it. So I'm not sure which is true here.
Yeah.
But CNN's reporting said that he wasn't stopped before, and the school resource officer wasn't on the campus, and he was coming back when the police were initially called that there was a shooter nearby.
Okay.
So kind of confusing. It may just be, I'm not sure if CNN's reporting was based off of police reports. If it was, they could have just been fucking lying because they've already done it so far.
I was saying, literally, didn't the sheriff's office just fucking lie about it?
They've lied so far, quite a bit. After he arrived, he entered through a door that had been propped open, and he went into a classroom, held himself up in this 4th grade classroom that was adjoined with another. You guys can probably imagine how those look. Those are pretty common. And he started firing rounds. And that brings us to the police response, which is just absolutely abysmal.
Unhinged.
So, at first, there were 3 officers on scene. They did not breach the door while rounds were being fired. There were 3 people there. They didn't go in. They were inside the school, but they would not breach the classroom.
School stationed police officers.
Yeah, they were there.
Bros chilling in the school, which are always armed.
Yeah. And then over the next 20 minutes or so, a total of 19 officers arrived on scene. First, it was 4 more, so they had 7, and then it was a total of 19 on scene 20 minutes later.
Okay.
They still didn't breach.
Are those the 19 officers that made that line that stopped the parents from going and rescuing their kids?
Yeah. Well, actually, what the police did was they rushed in and saved their own children.
Yeah.
And then when parents arrived, because they heard that there was a active shooter at their kid's school, they said, parents, you can't go in, which I understand. You know, you don't want to let civilians go into an active shooter situation.
You don't want to increase the amount of casualties.
But police were just sitting outside.
However, somebody should be going in this instance, because weren't they just waiting for a SWAT team that didn't fucking come for
they
like
were
an hour?
waiting for a Border Patrol tactical unit. The Border Patrol tactical unit came 20 minutes after there were a total of 19 officers there. And they didn't go into the room for another 40 minutes. While shots continued to go off. So they were just fucking waiting around.
And I don't know if you guys have seen the video. It's fucking crazy. We retweeted it on our Twitter, but it's literally cops stationed outside. They're in not full body armor, but they've got the Kevlar on, and they've got fucking rifles on them. Like, they could have done something. And I saw one stupid motherfucker in our mentions in that video, because I said something along the lines of, you're a lunatic if you think arming teachers is the solution here.
Insane.
When fully armed, militarized cops can't do anything.
Yeah.
And some motherfucker got in our replies, and this guy said, actually, the cops are at a tactical disadvantage when entering a building that's already has the shooter in it. The teachers at least have to be there. Shut the fuck up.
Dog.
What kind of tactical disadvantage? 19 against 1?
Yeah.
19 supposedly trained police officers against one guy who just went and bought 2 guns because it's too easy to buy guns.
One guy who didn't even have a bulletproof vest on. He had like the vest itself.
Yeah.
Didn't have a plate inside.
Yeah.
Albeit maybe they couldn't have known. Right? Maybe they didn't know. They didn't get a good enough look at him and he didn't look bulky enough, whatever. But they could have done something.
Yeah.
Like in this whole argument, because the Supreme Court has reaffirmed a couple of times that police officers have no legal obligation to protect you.
Which is insane.
Or to prevent harm against you.
What the fuck are
Which
they
is
for?
fucking crazy.
What are they for?
But it's like morally, like I don't care what the Supreme Court says, morally, cops should be busting in there even if they're going to get shot.
Oh, absolutely. That's what they signed up to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's we'll get to this when we get to like the teachers should have guns argument. But that's the whole thing is like cops signed up to put themselves in danger, like supposedly, on paper.
Yeah.
They signed up to put themselves in front of danger to help civilians. Teachers signed up to teach, not to fucking die.
Not to fucking kill their students.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the event that one of their students does something like this.
Yeah.
But also, it's just that not only did cops sign up for this, but they actively, like, participate in the self-aggrandizing rhetoric you see all around. That's these cops are heroes. They're putting themselves in harm's way every single day to protect you. No, the fuck they aren't.
Turns out they're actually just fucking cowards.
Turns out more kids have died this year in school shootings than cops have in regular shootings.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That is insane.
Like, obviously, I don't want cops to die. I don't want anybody to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one group is literally a child. And one group signed up to do something like this and actively takes advantage of the hero worship that people on the right give to them.
Yeah. And no, it's something like 22, 23 students have died in the classroom this year from gunfire, and like 20 cops have died in the line of duty from gunfire.
Yep.
Fucking unthinkable.
Wild.
More cops have died from COVID than from shootings.
55.
Yeah. Again, not saying that more cops should die, but like these are students. These are kids.
They're kids. Like, you signed up to protect them on paper.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand, dude.
All in all, it took law enforcement an entire hour before any moves were made. They were on scene almost the entire time. And it took them an hour before any moves were made to get inside the classroom. They didn't even breach the door. They got the keys from a janitor.
That's a lot of good guys with guns not doing anything.
Yeah. And of course, the question now is, why didn't they go in? Like, what reasoning could they possibly offer? I think it was the sheriff or the commanding officer on scene, whatever it was. They said that once the shooter had gone in, it changed from an active shooter situation to a barricade situation. And apparently, cop procedure is to not just go in when there's a barricade situation, which is just like defining it differently to justify not doing anything for those kids.
Yeah, no, literally, it's procedural bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. And apparently, during the shooting, there were like many kids calling 911, like begging police to come in. There's a bunch of like audio tracks that you can find of children calling 911 saying like, I hear shots, like, please do something about this. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
My hands are tied. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely nothing happened. So that sums up like the events, what led up to it, the police response, etc. I think now we got to get into the political response. Because this has literally been making me so sad.
I was absolutely mauling on Twitter the other day. It's just ridiculous the type of shit that people are saying. One, you've got people on the one hand talking about how you're really going to politicize a tragedy like this.
Oh my God,
these parents are grieving and you're going to talk about politics. You're going to use this to push your agenda.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. This is 100% a political event. Everything is a political event. And I can't stand the type of rhetoric that things just aren't political.
Yeah.
Everything is inherently political.
Well, especially when it's a trend like school shootings are. It is inherently political if at the heart of the issue is a lack of response from our political authorities.
And it has to do with policies.
Yes.
Like, there are clear policy trends here. As soon as the assault weapons ban went away, you saw mass shootings skyrocket. Like, it's clearly political.
Politics is at the heart of the issue, and if there's any right-wingers that are saying, like, oh, you shouldn't be politicizing people's deaths. They literally do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They went to an NRA convention a day after this happened.
They went to an NRA convention, and Trump rang a bell after he said the names of, like, everyone that died?
Was that real?
I think so.
Jesus Christ.
Like, what the fuck? I hope it's not real.
That might have been an edit, but if that was real, that is, like,
okay, it might have been an edit.
Crazy. I hope it was an edit.
Honestly, not even fucking crazier than the shit that actually did happen. Ted Cruz's speech.
Just out of pocket.
This dude said he invoked 9/11 and like the Oklahoma City bombing too, because obviously he's making the mental health things like, and he's trying to get it. We don't ban planes and we don't ban cars when you can ram a truck into a crowd, huh? Now do we?
Yeah.
And then he said some shit like, it's because of fatherlessness.
Yeah.
It's because of video games.
Historically, no wars were fought before video games were created, of course.
God. He said it's because of the left's attack on the family. Dude really said mass shooting is when no dad.
Yeah.
Mass shooting is when no dad in video games.
That's why.
I play video games. I don't have a dad. I've never wanted to shoot up a fucking school before.
Also, I think like most mass shooters, maybe not most, but at least most in recent memory had like a dad at home.
No, literally.
This guy did.
Literally.
The person who, the active shooter at Oxford last year had a father at home. And he tried to run away.
Most of them have like regular fucking families. It's crazy, dude.
Anyway, backing up a little bit, this is undeniably solely an American problem. No other country has to experience this kind of trend. It has never experienced this kind of trend. And if they did, they immediately took action to fix it.
Australia, I think, had the biggest like massacre ever. And as they immediately enacted legislation, nothing like that has ever happened again.
Yeah. There's been more mass shootings this year than there have been days in the calendar. There's been like 200 something, maybe close to 300 mass shootings. And I don't know, it's been like what, a couple hundred days?
Yeah, and calendar? I think mass shooting is defined as like any event where I think more than 4 people die to like a gunman in 4 hours, like the same gunman.
Yeah, yeah. Like we just talked about a few episodes ago, 2 episodes ago, there was a mass shooting in Buffalo. Yeah. And there's been mass shootings in between that one and this one that didn't get national coverage.
They just weren't like huge. Like, God damn.
Like we have been, Gage and I, anyone that's young, we've been living with this problem for literally our entire lives. We've always been trained to either hide or engage in fighting, barricade the door, whatever it may be when we're in the classroom. Yeah. Like every single student in every area you are in a school, whether it be in the classroom, in the hallway, outside, eating lunch, whatever, you have an escape plan in your mind.
Absolutely.
Like every single, it's like, it's a dark reality that we even have to, in our mind, come up with like, how would I get out of this situation if someone pulled a gun right now? But like, it's reality. It's what we've had to live with.
Absolutely. And it's just crazy how slow anyone in a position of power is to respond to any of these events.
Not even slow. They just don't.
Literally
don't.
I feel like the only meaningful change I've ever seen in my entire life when it comes to the events of school shootings is when they switched to like standard policy from let's turn the lights off, lock the doors, and group everyone in a corner in the dark to actually maybe you should barricade the door. And that happened a couple years ago where that like people just thought maybe that's a better idea.
Right.
Because this is something we have to live with.
That's called like Alice training or something like that. And like it has been, it seems like it's been more effective. We've had some cases where it seems like it's limited casualties.
Yeah.
But in an elementary school, what are they supposed to do?
And it's also just like common sense.
Yeah.
Which is another issue. It's so hard to pass common sense gun reform. What the fuck? It literally took like 15 years for them to start doing Alice training.
Yeah.
Before it was let's group all these kids in a corner and pretend nobody's in the class.
And that wasn't federal action. Like that was just something that was decided by school districts, like, or maybe state legislatures. But like, again, we've had no real action. And quite honestly, I don't know if I expect any real action, as we'll talk about a little bit later.
Especially in Texas. Are you fucking kidding me? You think anything's going to get done in Texas?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like I said, we've been living with this our entire lives, and there's something especially sinister that we have to live with this idea that the expense of being a free society is that kids just have to die in their classrooms sometimes. Because that's what the right-wing narrative is.
Yeah.
Like, fundamentally, when they're saying that, when Ted Cruz is saying, like, oh, well, we shouldn't attack the Second Amendment just because, someone did a terrible thing, he is saying that the expense in his mind of having a free society is that kids have to die sometimes.
Like, we're going to see a common theme just throughout the events of this week is that Republicans see something that should obviously be mended, something within the law that is bad, that should be fixed. And their response is tough shit.
Yep.
Tough shit.
Yep. Again, this doesn't happen anywhere else. It is America. Like, I don't know if there's any other problem where we can point to it solely being an American problem except this one.
And fucking everywhere else, it is so much harder to get a gun.
Yeah.
Like in Canada, I saw that you need 3 character witnesses and like a full out just psych evaluation. Should be the bare minimum.
They had one mass shooting in 2020. I think it claimed maybe like 10 to 20 people's lives.
Yeah.
Terrible thing. And they immediately moved to restrict gun laws
to
make it harder to get a gun.
I literally can't fathom our Congress doing that.
I think in the UK, 1996 or something like that, they had a mass shooting, and their conservative government moved to restrict gun laws.
The Tories.
Yes.
The Tories.
Like, come on. But I do want to talk about some right-wing narratives, because there's been a lot going around, and I think we should address them in tandem as we move on.
All right.
The first one that we need to just absolutely put to rest right away is this idea that the shooter was a transgender leftist.
No shot. What?
It's just fucking... No, this has been a real thing.
Because he had long hair?
Yeah, something like that. But, like, this is... I think it started on 4chan, this rumor. But then, of course, you have your political pundits on the right that just pick up the idea and run with it because they're hateful pieces of shit that will blame anything they can on trans people because they're afraid of them. But there's been this idea that's been promulgated by people like Charlie Kirk, just the hateful, awful people, by people like the Quartering. And it's just not true.
I like how nobody has even assigned a political motive to this thing. Like, obviously this dude was just unhinged and he did a bad thing. Yeah. It's not like Buffalo, where the dude had a manifesto where he's literally a white supremacist and they're running defense for
speculation.
They just all of a sudden just like, yeah, let's do this.
Well, that's the thing is, like, as soon as it happened, someone like Charlie Kirk on his Twitter was like, all right, like, let's not make this political. Kids are losing their lives. Like, let's not make it political. It doesn't matter. Then as soon as he learned that this person wasn't white, he was like, watch how they try to say it was white supremacy, then realize that it's not a white person. Like, immediately, like 20 minutes apart, he said, don't make it political. Then he finds out that he can make it political, and he did it. Like...
Bro's an invertebrate. Yeah. The way he has no fucking backbone.
But this idea that it was like a transgender person that had like leftist ideals, not true.
You guys don't understand. It was the HRT that was getting to him.
It is simply a minority group, or it is simply the right wing's attempt to pin this on a minority group that they fucking despise.
That's absolutely fucking insane.
That's all it is.
I can't. Oh my God.
Just get that out of the way. And then the broader narrative that I'm seeing is that this is, of course, a mental health issue. Yeah. Which has always been the argument on the right. They've always said it's not a gun ownership issue. It's a mental health issue that we need to deal with.
Yes.
They say that while simultaneously doing fucking nothing about mental health.
And it's as if these things are mutually exclusive.
Right.
As if the gun issue doesn't just severely exacerbate the mental health issue.
Right.
It's kind of hard to act on your deep, dark, like, mentally ill desires when you don't have access to something that can just kill a fuck ton of people in a minute.
Yeah, no, I mean, I won't deny that it's probably both.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's I'm positive there's a mental health problem in this country, and I'm sure that anyone that is engaging in these school shootings, that's being an active shooter, is not mentally well.
Absolutely not.
Guarantee it.
Absolutely not.
But what is the Republican Party going to offer? Are they going to offer like universal access to therapy? Like, are they going to put a bunch more funding, billions of dollars behind school counselors? Like, they're not going to do anything like that.
No,
because they don't fucking care.
You should just return to the nuclear family.
No, that's their argument, and they say shit like we've strayed farther from God.
No, Ted Cruz, in his fucking speech, he literally said they're godless. They have no faith. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely absurd. And especially with all the news leaking of the Southern Baptist Convention having all those pedophiles, maybe we need to be further away from God at this point. Like, their argument that we need to be closer to God is just fucking absurd.
Oh, yeah.
And again, them saying that we need to restore the nuclear family, again, absurd because this kid had a fucking nuclear family. It has nothing to do with that.
I just can't. I can't fathom how fucking stupid they are. I can't fathom how dumb people like Ted Cruz are. I saw another video of some dude like confronting him at dinner like about it. Immediately, bro, just got angry, just got unhinged, had his security take the guy away.
Talking about the British guy?
Yeah,
Sky
I think
News.
so.
Yeah, he was like I don't know if it was at like a press conference or dinner or whatever it was, but this dude came up, just started. This news reporter, it wasn't even being disrespectful. It was just like, this is an American problem. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Is now the time? And Ted Cruz walked away. He got afraid. And then he said, he tried to fire back. He's like, America's the freest, safest, best nation in the world. And I'm like, safest? Safest for who, big dog?
Speaking of, I've seen the statistic going around Twitter that like amongst countries with gun violence issues, America's actually number 56. You're comparing America to countries that are in active civil war right now.
Countries that half of the landmass is a war zone.
Like, you're really gonna compare the gun violence in, like, I don't know, Syria and America?
No. They're like, oh my God, do you think America's bad with gun violence? Look at Ukraine right now. Look at Ukraine. That we're not that bad.
Ukraine, come on now, come on. Number 56, baby. Exactly. I wear it proud.
Another narrative we've seen, which has been really ubiquitous on the right, is that stricter gun laws wouldn't have prevented the massacre. They wouldn't have done anything.
Wow.
I mean, it's just a lie. It's just a lie.
That really just ties into the talking point I see all the time, that it's, well, schools are gun-free zones. All these shootings are happening in gun-free zones now. Crazy.
The point is that these things, sometimes people will still get their hands on weapons and people will still do crazy shit. But the point is that it would make it much less often. We wouldn't be seeing hundreds of mass shootings at the beginning of the year.
Exactly.
Like it would just make it much less often. That's the point of making these laws strict, or more strict, more regulated, making it more difficult to get a gun, because this person got a gun from a federal vendor like 3 days before he went and did the shooting. He went through all the federal regulations. That just shows me that the federal regulations aren't good enough.
Right? Like, literally, like, that's what you would think.
And, like, another right-wing narrative is like, well, they'll just find a way to get guns anyway.
Nah, that one gets me every time. They say they're just going to get them off the streets. What are you going to do? Are you going to walk down to your local gang and they're just going to give you a gun to go do murder? Yeah. Is that the world that you think we live in right now?
Also, that argument fundamentally boils down to people are going to break the law, so might as well have no laws.
Dude, speaking of that, I'm sure you've all seen the clip. It went insanely viral this week. Rightfully so. It's a CNN clip, and they got a 13-year-old with a hidden camera to go to, like, convenience stores, and he tried to buy alcohol. They said no. He tried to buy cigarettes. They said no. He tried to buy a lottery ticket. They laughed at him and said no. And then he went to a gun show and bought a rifle.
What the fuck?
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was all on hidden camera. Like, crazy. The 13-year-old went to the gun show and got the fucking rifle. Dude sold it to him, like a 50-year-old guy. And in the comments for that video, I saw some guy saying some shit like, well, this is actually an illegal sale, so you can't count it. Maybe it should be harder to make those illegal sales. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Maybe there's the gun show loophole shouldn't exist. Maybe gun shows should be a little more restrictive, you fucking idiot.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not advocating for banning weapons.
It's like, never going to happen in America anyway.
Yeah, practically it can't happen, and I wouldn't ever advocate for that anyway. But making it harder to get weapons will mean that less kids are going to be shot in school. Exactly. And there are going to be less mass shootings overall. That's the argument.
Crazy, right? Crazy. But I'm the crazy one.
Right. The point is just making it harder to get guns, or harder for people that are going to do bad things to get guns. It's just background checks, it's red flag laws, that kind of thing. Because this kid had a lot of red flags.
Oh, yeah.
We would have been able to tell. The shooter that was in Buffalo, a lot of red flags, but nothing was really done.
Like, just having to have character witnesses, too. Just the Canadian and the Swiss idea, just fantastic. What's he gonna say? Mom, can you give me a character witness so I can get this gun so I can go kill a bunch of kids in an elementary school?
Yeah. And all the motherfuckers talking about, like, well, the founders wanted everyone to have access to weapons. Like, the founders wanted the Second Amendment to be unabridged. Like, nobody should interfere with it. I guarantee you, if we pulled Tommy Jefferson into the future right now, and he was seeing that more kids have died than police officers this year in schools by gunfire than police officers have in the line of duty, he would be absolutely fucking maulding.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be thinking, how did you let this happen?
If he saw the police, he would be fucking maulding.
Yeah.
The police didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
insane, right? Even if you take Marx, because people like to throw around that Marx quote, you should never take away the instruments of revolution from the proletariat. If you do, it should be resisted by force.
Yeah,
I know I butchered the quote, but like the spirit is there.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
You know what I mean? Marx couldn't envision a reality where everyday Americans have access to fucking rifles that can go and kill 50 fucking people in 3 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of these historical figures could envision that. They didn't live in the here and now. We should be taking these ideas and we should be looking at them through the lens of the modern day, the world that we live in.
Also, like, if there's ever a proletariat revolution, I think there's going to be much greater obstacles than getting a hold of weapons.
Exactly.
In my great opinion. Like, I don't think that weapon ownership is going to be the big problem with the revolution. Like, I think here and now, if we can prevent the deaths of children in schools, that's probably something we should do.
That's the best thing.
We should invest some time into doing that. Another argument, which we've already touched on a little bit, is let's arm teachers and secure schools. Let's basically make elementary schools supermax prisons.
Yeah,
in order to protect our children.
That's what Ted Cruz wants. Ted Cruz wants an elementary school that's a supermax prison with one entrance and exit. Just fuck fires or anything.
Yeah, I saw that too. What about fires, big dog?
Dude literally
he literally
said there should only be one entrance and one exit, and there should be armed guards at the front of it. Dog, you're going to elementary school. What the fuck?
I love how Republicans would rather make schools into prisons than reform gun ownership.
Yeah.
They are more likely to make schools into supermax prisons than they are to just regulate guns a little bit more.
And it's
They're more willing to do
that. You're so fucking dumb if you think we should arm teachers. You're so fucking stupid if you think that.
And it's like, okay, when it comes to arming teachers signed up to educate children. They did not sign up to lay down their lives, to sacrifice their lives to protect children. Like, yeah, the teacher is an authority figure, but with that does not come the responsibility of that teacher to sacrifice their life defending their students.
Teachers should just be given 00 licenses to fucking kill in case a school shooter comes in so they can open fire back at them. As if there wasn't a shooting in, I believe, Texas a couple years back where there were cops already on the scene before the shooting started, right? They didn't know, they were just there. There were good guys with guns there. The dude opened fire and killed 9 people in like a minute before anybody could do anything to stop it. That doesn't stop the issue.
Also, yeah, if students, okay, say there's going to be a school shooter, if everyone knows that teachers have guns now, the teacher's just going to die first.
Exactly.
Like,
what happens when they go in a classroom and there's just one teacher? Should there be an armed guard in every corner of the room?
Yeah.
Should the fucking student teachers that just got out of college be armed too, posted up in the corner like an operator on a Call of Duty loading screen?
And here's here's the thing, like, you can't convince me that if we arm every teacher, there's not going to be just a crazy surge in accidental gun deaths in the classroom.
You're not going to convince me that if we arm every teacher, that one teacher on a bad day, there's going to be a kid who uses the wrong form of there.
Right.
Who just gets blinked in the middle of class. Right. Like, you can't.
I would not trust some of my high school teachers with weapons, though.
Absolutely not. I pushed some of their buttons.
Purposefully, because I knew I wouldn't die. Like, if you think that arming teachers is a good idea in any universe, you're out of your fucking mind.
There was one time, freshman year, in me and Jeremy's history class. It was like, first hour, right?
Yeah, I know.
And we had a guest teacher, and we were doing group work, and I guess this guest teacher was just having an awful day. They were a guest teacher, to be fair. And we were just like, we just kept talking, right? Because we're a bunch of like 13-year-olds doing group work. Obviously, we're going to be loud and a little rowdy.
Yeah.
Motherfucker started crying and fucking swearing at us, got in massive trouble. If he would have had a gun that day,
I would have been afraid.
He'd have been the fucking shooter, I swear to God.
Bro, if more guns was the solution in the United States, we would be the safest country on the planet.
Yeah.
But we're not. Like, giving teachers guns is not going to solve this issue in any capacity.
Dude sat there and cried at his fucking desk before he got fired. You can't tell me he wouldn't have retaliated a little bit.
I know. Ultimately, I don't think you should expect teachers to basically be soldiers on the front lines defending children. That's crazy.
And then it's like, it wouldn't end there. Because if teachers were armed and there were shootings, if there was a shooting anywhere else, it's like, all right, your fucking clerk at Walmart needs to be armed then.
Yeah.
Your fucking cashier at Rite Aid needs to be armed. Your doctor needs to be armed. Because what if somebody pulls into a fucking hospital and just opens fire?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't end. It doesn't end until everyone is armed.
Maybe we just give every student a fucking gun. Maybe
True.
as a part of your 9th grade education, now you just got to go to the gun range. That's a new class you got to take. Required course.
Fucking go to 3rd hour. Oh, fuck, dude. I forgot to do my gun homework last night.
Right. Damn, I'm going to get fucking shot by my teacher now.
Damn, I can't disassemble and reassemble my rifle in a minute 30 flat. Fuck, what am I going to do?
I'm going to fail.
I'm going to fail. They're going to kick me out of school because now I'm unsafe.
I'm about to fail AP weapons and ammo.
I won't be able to defend all my classmates in the event of a shooting. Oh, no.
That is, like, yeah, it doesn't end anywhere. Army teachers, not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea at
fucking lunatic. Absolutely bonkers. Willie.
Speaking of lunatics, though.
Okay.
Lauren Bobart had something to say on Twitter. She said, really great quote. Can't wait to see your reaction. She said, "We didn't ban planes after 9/11. No, you fucking idiot. We just created an entirely new agency in the government to regulate flight.
No, you fucking idiot. We passed the Patriot Act immediately after 9/11. We literally took your rights away after 9/11.
Yeah.
That's a thing that happened that everybody admits now.
Yeah.
The Patriot Act was only there so you could spy on innocent civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Passed with flying colors. Yet we can't get gun reform to go through.
Even like, okay, the Patriot Act was clearly terrible, but even just regular regulation, planes and flight and transportation got regulated to all fucking hell.
We created the TSA.
Yeah.
Like, I think like there was a study done where like TSA officials or some official went through like TSA a bunch of times and found that 70% of contraband they could just sneak through. Mm-hmm. Wild. I don't think TSA's ever stopped anything from actually happening before.
I mean, but attacks on planes have gone down significantly though. It doesn't really happen in the United States now. Like there was some story of someone trying to sneak on a bomb onto a plane by hiding it in their shoe.
Yeah.
And now everyone is required to take their shoes off before getting onto a plane. But nobody cries about the restriction of liberties when they're trying to get onto a plane. Freedom to travel.
Is it a little inconvenient? Yeah, a
yes.
little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. It's fucking annoying. I don't like it at 6 a.m. when I have to show up to my flight, but it's still like, okay.
I would rather do that than possibly have my plane crash
but it's
or
like,
fly
even
into,
besides that, even besides TSA being annoying and letting things slip sometimes, planes weren't designed to kill people.
Yes. Yes.
I think that's the big thing here. You know what I mean?
Maybe
TSA's got its issues.
Maybe planes aren't literally the same as guns.
Maybe planes and cars aren't literally the same. You love to see it.
Mm-hmm. And then another minor argument I've seen, this one hasn't been as prominent as I thought it might have been. But some people are saying the common phrase like, wow, another mass shooting to distract from X, distract from enter other events. I could do the same thing. Check this out. Wow, Republicans are banning abortions to distract from the West Elm Caleb story.
Wow, another stupid fucking idiot take from Ted Cruz to distract from, I don't know, anything else.
Yeah.
God.
Stupid argument. Don't believe in those. And then Governor Greg Abbott held a press conference. Right after he's the governor of the state. You know, you think he'd have something solemn to say. He said it could have been worse. That was him trying to offer solace to the parents that had lost their children. It could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Be grateful.
Yeah, police officers could have died. Could have been worse. This was also, I think, the same press conference where Beto O'Rourke stood up and started yelling at Greg Abbott.
Where Beto O'Rourke very respectfully waited until he was done to start yelling at him.
I shouldn't say yelling. He kind of stood up and talked to him.
He stood up and had to try to.
He was like, "You, Greg Abbott, are very disrespectful. You're not doing anything to solve this issue."
Yeah,
didn't really do anything.
He's getting packed up.
Yeah,
this November, it's not even close. There's no shot he wins. The only moment I ever saw character from him was like outside of that press event, like on his own. He was surrounded by reporters and he was commenting on it. That was the only time this dude ever appeared human.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the same as Obama, but less charismatic. The GOP's trying to paint like him calling out Greg Abbott at this press conference as like an emotional outburst. I think he should have gone harder.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I think it's good. Like, it was clearly like political theater. You know, like that. It was a publicity.
He said,
stunt.
"Oh, this is gonna boost my polls."
Yeah.
Let me go.
But more people should be doing that. They should have been fucking screaming at him.
When you see activists get on there and do it, they're in there, but they are going until security takes them out.
When you see a white suburban mom at a school board meeting crying about CRT, they applaud her. That's what we should be doing. Same thing.
Put me in there. Put me in that press room.
But there was also a National Rifle Association convention that happened over this last weekend. Happened in Houston, so I guess they thought Houston's like 300 miles away from Uvalde, so that's far enough.
Yeah.
It featured Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and a couple other Republicans. Greg Abbott was supposed to be there, but instead he just sent a video because he thought it would be inappropriate to show up.
Yeah, he could have just not said anything at all.
Gotta absolutely love how after a mass shooting that killed children, the children they claim to care so much about, they just go to a gun convention.
Love to see it. And Ted Cruz actually shows up and gives a speech.
Yeah. The NRA convention mostly consisted of Republican politicians, obviously blaming the mass shootings on mental illness and the devil, strangely enough. There was one attendee that told Politico, quote, "Why did it happen 3 days ago? I'm not sure that there aren't forces someplace that somehow find troubled people and nurture and develop them and push them for their own agendas." That was just some attendee. And then he also said, the same dude said, this guy could have walked in there with a baseball bat and possibly killed just as many kids. So these are the type of people attending the NRA convention, by the way.
That's a fucking take that I've seen. The 3 day, why'd it happen 3 days ago? Let me try to pull up this one tweet by Kevin Sorbo that I saw. I think it's very topical here.
Mask off moment.
Oh, absolutely mask off moment. I hope that I can fucking find this.
Okay. Another attendee also said, this isn't a gun control issue. This is a demon control issue. We need to legislate away the demons, people. We need to legislate them away. What are the policy solutions for these demons that we can't control?
That's fucking crazy, dude. That's fucking
mask off.
crazy.
I can't even begin to comment how completely mask off having an NRA convention, not even moving it. They could have moved it. Could have taken it out of the state. Could have pushed it back a month, something. But they continued with it and plowed through it and talked about the shooting at the NRA convention.
Damn, I think bro deleted the tweet.
Dang. But that's why you got to screenshot the fire ones.
I know, low-key. It was maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was some pastor. But it was something along the lines of, oh, kind of crazy that this guy was just able to do that. And it's dude, come on now. Come on. You're doing the Alex Jones. You're doing the Alex Jones Sandy Hook right now.
I blame Alex Jones for all of this. Obviously, it wasn't just him individually, but the Alex
Jones Sandy Hook really had devastating downstream effects.
Ted Cruz, we already talked about his speech a little bit at the NRA convention, but he mostly did the good guy with a gun argument. He has a clip where he literally said the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Love it.
Which just isn't fucking true, because in his worldview, I thought there were 19 good guys with a gun, and they just didn't fucking do anything.
I thought there were 19 fucking heroes with a gun out there. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Good guys, they're heroes.
Yeah, fucking superheroes.
Did you see the way they protected those parents?
And it's like even at the Buffalo shooting, there was a security guard that tried to take out the shooter.
A security guard.
A security guard.
A civilian.
A good guy with a gun. And nothing. It didn't work.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do
it. Maybe having a good guy with a gun just isn't the solution. Maybe the idea of good guy with a gun all depends on your perspective of who the good guy is.
Maybe we could also further complicate the metaphor by saying, how the fuck do cops know who the good guy is when they show up on the scene if they choose to do something?
Low key, the good guy with a gun argument is becoming the new pull yourself up by your bootstraps argument. It's just as absurd.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Trump was also at the conference. His suggestion was that we lock school doors from the inside. Really fire recommendation from Trump there.
Thank you, Donald Trump.
I wonder if school doors lock from the inside anywhere in the country.
Regular doors lock, as opposed to doors that lock from the outside.
I wonder if schools already have doors that
and they worship this dude too, like a fucking deity.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think that sums it up on our coverage. We're going to get into some legislation here in a minute, talking about what bills may be considered and then shot down by the Republican Party. But I think this boils down to a question of, for the Republican Party, that they will never answer this question, but what's a more important freedom? Is it more important for you to be able to have unfettered access to weaponry? Or is it more important that children can survive the fucking school year? Because these kids were 4 days away from getting out for summer.
One of these choices is far more pro-life than the other one. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Pro-life, but they'll do absolutely nothing to prevent your child being shot in school after they come out of the womb.
Damn, bro.
And just a reminder that literally all of these politicians that are talking shit about, oh, it's just mental illness, oh, it's just demons that we need to control, they take a copious amount of money from the NRA.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be just direct contributions or super PAC money for the NRA running ads for them, or the NRA being like, oh, Ted Cruz has an A+ from the NRA on their scorecard. The money that they take from the NRA is literally coated in the blood of children at this point.
I believe there was a bill that was going to the Texas State Senate a minute ago. Well, this shit happens all the time, so I can't point to a specific bill, but I just saw like this for the first time earlier. There's bills that get shot down all the time in like the state Senate and just like the House and regular Senate.
In Texas?
Yeah, about gun control, because like they will be blocked. They will never make it to the floor, never make it past anything, because the NRA will be grading them.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
And they won't even do it because the NRA, they need that A rating from the NRA.
The NRA literally grades every politician.
What?
Like for Republican primaries, an NRA endorsement and financial aid is literally key to just victory for a lot of people. Like, I mean, Ted Cruz, I guess, could face a challenge for primary because no Republican likes Ted Cruz. But for most general Republicans, I'm sure they are terrified of the NRA pushing back against them.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just one example of money, outside money, money that we can't control as voters, just holding the balls of our politicians that are supposed to represent us in our interests, not the interests of people with more money than us.
I've seen a whole lot of fucking videos of reporters pulling up to like various congressmen, senators, everything, talking about like, you received X amount of money from the NRA, and they just have nothing to say about it. They just run away like little sorry bitches they are.
There was some guy on Twitter, I think the day after the shooting, that was quote tweeting all of the Republicans that were like thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
And it was just screenshots of all the campaign contributions from the NRA.
Crazy.
Literally every Republican politician is receiving thousands and thousands
hundreds of thousands of dollars, upwards of $1 million in some cases.
Yeah, for like super PACs and ads and stuff like from super PACs and like for ads and marketing, electioneering, that kind of thing. Like thousands and thousands of dollars from the NRA and also other pro-gun groups. Like they are just literally controlled by them.
Love to see
While
it,
like
folks.
70 was it like 70%, 60% of the country supports background checks. Like not even the slightest gun reform bill can get through.
At the very least, a background check, expanded background checks. Fucking wild.
Let's talk about background checks actually.
Let's do it.
So now we're into our legislative updates. We're going to start with gun legislation because it's topical.
Got to.
There's been a number of bills that have already passed the House, surprise, surprise, even like in previous years before this shooting, but they're held up in the Senate. I bet you can guess
why. I wonder why.
H.R. 1446 would close a loophole that allows federal gun vendors to just sell guns even if the background check hasn't been completed after 3 days. The bill doesn't like close the loophole entirely. It just increases the time from 3 days to 10 days.
Awesome.
So I think what it does is like the gun vendor can choose to sell the gun after 10 days if the person's like petitioning them to do so. But they also can wait up to 20 days to sell the gun. So it just increases the time that they have to wait before they can sell the gun, depending on the vendor, of course.
Okay.
Even that does not have enough Republican votes to pass. Literally, like
you should be able to
smallest.
get it. You should be able to get a gun whenever you want, wherever you want. It's like the fucking JJ Wentworth 877 cash now. I want my money and I need it now.
Now.
Fucking insane.
Even the smallest gun reform bill. No, that's infringing on our freedoms.
That barely will do anything.
And then H.R. 8, also known as the Enhanced Background Checks Bill of 2021. So this was last year. It would require a thorough background check for all gun sales, even through private vendors. So it would cover not only federal firearms sellers, but it would also cover anyone getting sold privately. And I think it would close some loopholes like with gun shows and stuff like
Who'd
that.
have thought?
Massively supported by the country. Like it's 70%, upwards of 70%.
Hard to find people who don't think that's a good idea.
Only 8 House Republicans voted for it. Bill passed in the House. It's still waiting to be sent to the Senate to be considered by the Senate. 8 votes.
And now they've got an F by the NRA.
And this is on the legislative calendar for the Senate, so it's going to be considered sometime soon.
I can't wait for Joe Manchin to say, yeah, I may have tweeted that all I can think about is my grandkids right now, but...
Well, here's the thing. Joe Manchin had a bill, too. In 2013, Joe Manchin had worked on a compromise bill with, I think, Senator Pat Toomey.
Compromise, that's my favorite word.
It was a compromise bill. I think it was just expanding background checks, closing some loopholes, simple stuff.
Yeah.
You know, red flag laws, that kind of thing. Nothing crazy because it's from Joe Manchin.
The same things we've been trying to pass for forever.
54 votes in the Senate. 54.
Wow.
Nothing ever happened ever again.
I love how you can't do anything unless you have a filibuster-proof majority.
Republicans are just like pro school shootings at this point. like unironically.
It's hard to say they aren't.
Yeah.
It's honestly hard to say that they aren't.
Like, I know, like, it is horrifying watching this stuff happen, especially as an individual, someone who cares about politics, someone who cares about human life. But to think that the people that could change it simply refuse to is just fucking disgusting.
They're not even pro-school shooting by virtue of just not giving a shit about gun legislation. They also just actively encourage bad mental health. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
They actively think that mental health isn't a fucking problem.
Exactly. They actively encourage a just objectively incorrect view of like stoicism culturally that just puts these like incel dudes that go and do types of shit like this into this box where all their hate is just sitting there in their heart until they eventually burst.
Yeah. Yeah. Both bills and honestly any subsequent legislation is probably, no, I won't even say probably, it's not going to pass. Like there's nothing that we can really do to force it to pass. This is the way it's always been. Some lawmakers, I saw that you quote tweeted something that was like Joe Manchin saying it feels different.
Something like that,
I'm thinking of Joe Manchin was saying, I'm thinking of my grandchildren now. It really feels different. Like how can it feel different? It feels different
this time. Are you going to do anything different this time? Yeah. No, absolutely not.
After Sandy Hook was like 20 some kids were killed. Did it feel different then? After Columbine, I mean, nothing really happened. And that was the first major school shooting in recent history.
Yeah.
Nothing really changed then either. And police also fumbled that response, by the way.
I think it's crazy that, like, things surrounding guns, like any terroristic act that has to do with a gun, is the one where you don't see a swift response. But, like, we'll talk about it later, but, like, anytime there's a huge bombing, you see just huge swaths of legislation going through. You know what I mean? You see huge things happening.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's just, it's bleak, people. It's bleak, people. I mean, if the previous school shootings were any indication, nothing's going to happen. I don't know, like, David Hogg, like, he's like a gun safety activist, gun reform activist. Yeah. He was saying that things feel different. I don't know why things would feel different.
I don't know either.
Like there's no tangible, there's no interest that Republicans have in doing this because their voter base ultimately is going to either still vote for them or wants them to hold up gun reform.
Yeah.
They have no incentive to do anything.
Like, how does it feel different in a gridlocked, like, Senate right now?
Yeah.
How does it feel different when midterms aren't looking good? They're looking the exact opposite of good.
Terrible political
How does it feel different?
Yeah.
It's insane, dude. And it's like, what? Are there going to be, like, a couple fucking walkouts? I remember when Parkland happened, and at our high school there was we had a walkout. Like, students organized a walkout. We actively walked out during school, and another student decided, actually, guys, instead of walking out, that's a little too much. I'm gonna organize a prayer before school. What the fuck? What the fuck?
And I think police also, if memory serves, I think police also fumbled the Parkland response as well. Wasn't that one also going on for like an hour?
Oh, fuck.
Something crazy?
I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, just like you all did with Belgium and Brussels. But,
no, but like, this is a trend amongst police departments.
I want to say that the Parkland cop, like, ran away.
Okay.
I don't think so, though. Like, the security, like, the school security officer, I think he might have ran away. I don't know, though. Like, I can't say for sure.
I mean, like, cops have historically fumbled responses to school shootings. There's been some where they've done good. Like, in Oxford, the police response was really good. The shooting was over very, very quickly once police were called. The Alice training worked well. But, like, historically, cops have not done well with this stuff. Because they're afraid.
And it's like, even if, like, we're wrong about the Parkland thing, just look at what just fucking happened. You know what I mean? That it's absolutely egregious, and it's a trend.
Yeah, generally we're correct. And that's because, like, honestly, I think cops are taught to, like, prioritize getting home rather than prioritize saving the people that are right in front of you.
It's like,
and it's like, what are our tax dollars used for the police if it's not to fucking save us?
Why am I paying for all this body armor and all these fucking rifles and all these, like, literal APCs if you're the NYPD, if it's not going to be used to, at the very least, save kids?
Children. Children that can't do Alice training. Like, they can't barricade. They can't fight back.
Fucking crazy.
Just disgusting. In other legislation news, though, pivoting away from school shooting news, the baby formula bill was signed into law. One of them.
Oh, the one that
was...
Yeah, okay, the WIC one.
The one that dedicated some... Actually, I don't even know if it dedicated funding. I think it just allowed federal government to, like, divert funds towards the program for baby formula.
I think so, yeah.
That one passed and was signed into law, so that's good news.
Excellent.
The bill that would allow the FDA to monitor this better, and monitor future crises.
Like, additionally fund the FDA.
Yeah, probably not going to pass.
Dead in the water.
Nothing is happening with that. Seems very unlikely. And then with the gas price gouging bill that we talked about last week, the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee took up the bill. Seems like it's going to get out of committee. Doesn't seem like it's going to pass the floor. Because Rick Scott, He was on Face the Nation recently, and he said, quote, inflation, including gas costs, is the number one issue with voters, and Biden has been slow to react. It's almost as if he's slow to react because the GOP is intentionally slowing down the process of reaction.
Yeah, no, literally, like, maybe he's slow to react because you're intentionally making it so he can't fucking sign anything. Yeah. Like, you're just blocking the bill, and then, look at this guy. Yeah. Look, it's them.
No, classic Republican strategy. Cause the problem, prevent the solution, blame the Democrats.
I can't stand it.
Yeah. Gotta love that. That sums up our little legislation talk. I think it's time for election news.
Oh, some lighter news. Some
lighter news, still pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Still pretty bad, but less bad in a terrible week of news. So let's go to Texas again. But this time we're talking about the 28th House District race between Jessica Cisneros and Henry Cuellar. How do you say his last name?
No fucking idea.
Cuellar, something like that.
The guy.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm not that guy.
You're not the number one pronunciation podcast.
Not the number one geography podcast. Not the pronunciation podcast.
I think it's Henry Cuellar or something like that. It still remains Henry. We'll just call him
Henry C.
We'll just call him Harry. It still remains too close to call. Okay. The race is the difference right now is 175 votes.
That's crazy.
In a race of more than like 45,000 votes cast. So wow. Very, very close. Very, very close. This is the Democratic primary runoff. They had an election, I think, back in March where no one got like the definitive win. So they're going to a runoff. Cisneros is the progressive here. Henry is the centrist who is very, very
Henry
basically
is
a Republican.
The Republican.
Basically the Republican. Again, their initial election was in March, and now they're doing a runoff race. As of Friday, too close to call.
Very important to note that Henry is the last pro-life Democrat.
Yeah. I was just about to say, Henry is the last Democrat to be openly pro-life and openly anti-gun reform.
Yes.
So that's pretty pressing right now. He also paved the way for the child tax credit to be blocked from reapproval in the House, and he's a big fan of the oil and gas industry, if you didn't know. He's also endorsed by Nancy Pelosi and other establishment Democrats.
It's like a mini Joe Manchin, honestly.
Yeah, it's harder to be Joe Manchin in the House just because of how many people there are and like the procedures and stuff like that.
Boy, is he trying.
But yeah, he would definitely be the Joe Manchin in the House. Last pro-life Democrat, I hope he gets fucking clapped. In a very Trumpian fashion, though, he declared victory.
Oh, wow.
Before the recount had finished. Cisneros obviously refused to concede because, she's
sane.
A normal person.
She's sane.
And the votes need to be recounted because a margin of less than 200 votes is insanely small.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, that's literally a tabulation error at like one voting place.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
See, I can't wait for the progressive to get clapped this time again.
I hope not. Moving north to Pennsylvania, though.
We like to talk about.
The GOP primary is still too close to count. GOP primary for Senate, still too close to call. It's in the middle of a recount right now.
Unless you're Dr. Oz.
Yeah, unless you're Dr. Oz, because similar to Henry, Dr. Oz just declared victory.
Said, I won. I did it. He took Trump's advice, finally.
He posted a video on Twitter just saying, I'm the presumptive nominee for Senate. So he took Trump's advice. As of today, Oz only leads McCormick pre-recount by less than 900 votes, according to the Pennsylvania Secretary of State.
Damn.
Or it might be a little bit more than 900 votes, but it's less than 1,000 votes.
I wonder when is the recall going to be? Probably next week, right?
The recount, I think it's already started. It just takes some time.
No, when does it end?
I don't remember.
Isn't there still a dead? I thought that. Never mind.
Probably sometime in June. We'll probably get results sometime in June, I would imagine.
Yeah, that would make sense.
NBC reports that, along with this Pennsylvania news, there's a batch of 10,000 overseas military ballots still not counted. Absentee ballots.
Oh, 10,000?
And there was like 800 or so ballots that also still needed to be tabulated as well. So clearly within a margin of error.
Yeah.
This race is literally anybody's.
Absolutely neck and neck. I hope Oz takes it. I hope my boy Meme takes it.
If I had to guess, right? Not in the prediction business, of course.
Okay, naturally.
But I feel like military votes would probably go to McCormick, right? That dude literally seems like he's directly in line with the military.
He is ex-military, isn't he? Wasn't he?
He was fighting communists his whole life.
That's so true. He's been overseas fighting communists. God damn, those commie Al Qaeda,
Bro fought in the Cold War. Apparently, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Moving to Georgia, though. A little bit of news on Georgia. Trump-backed David Perdue got fucking clapped.
Didn't Kemp just wash everybody?
Yeah, Kemp got 73.5% of the vote. He's the incumbent governor right now in the primary. And David Perdue got 21.9% of the vote. Wow. He was the second highest vote getter.
Wow.
So Kemp just absolutely clapped everyone in the field.
Demolished.
Yeah. And again, David Perdue, for those that forgot, He was the one that ran against John Ossoff.
He's the guy that was at the rally and initially pronounced Kamala Harris's name right, but then pretended he didn't just to be racist.
And he had been in the Senate for a few years before that, worked alongside her.
I think he was actually implicated in a huge insider trading scandal within the Senate, too.
All-around bad guy, all-around not charismatic, terrible at debating, didn't show up to the John Ossoff debate, lost his Senate election then. And then he was trying to run for governor in Georgia, got clapped. Despite Trump's endorsement, got clapped.
That's crazy.
Because I think Donald Trump hates Brian Kemp.
Because Kemp wouldn't find 13,000 votes for him.
Because Kemp wouldn't overturn election results in his state. Kemp's still very bad, still pretty Trumpy.
Yeah, we don't like Kemp, far right. Not at all. We're rooting for Abrams.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But yeah. David Perdue got absolutely clapped. And as Gage just said, Stacey Abrams is going to go on to face him. I think she was the only one running in the primary for Democrat.
I think so, too.
So not like she could have lost. So they'll go on to face each other in the general. She
wouldn't have lost anyway. Wasn't her race, because didn't she run for governor
previously,
last time?
2018.
Wasn't
against
it close?
Brian Kemp. Very close.
It was very close, too.
Very close.
I feel like she can do it.
Maybe.
I think she might be able to do it this time around.
I really hope so. That would be
nice. I'm on my knees. I picked a God and I prayed for this
Georgia is one of those places that is trying to be purple, I think.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty firmly red just because of gerrymandering, voter suppression laws, etc. But if we could get someone in office that, wouldn't overturn election results in 2024, that would be ideal. Kemp has a good track record.
He does.
I'll give him that. He didn't do it last time, that's kind of the expectation.
But who knows? They're kind of wild cards around that side of the aisle.
And then on the for the Georgia GOP primary for Senate, Herschel Walker absolutely landslide won his election.
God damn.
So he's going to go on to face Raphael Warnock in November.
Really?
Yeah, because Warnock filled the seat in for Kelly Loeffler, because Kelly Loeffler got clapped.
Yep.
But that only had two more years left on it, so he's up for re-election again this year.
Wow.
So we could lose the seat just as soon as we got it.
I wonder how that race is going to go.
I don't know.
I'm so interesting because, obviously he can't. The bar's in hell.
Yeah.
For racing against Raphael Warnock. You, by default, you are better than radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Just that charisma suck that is Kelly Loeffler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do wonder how this one's going to go.
Kelly Loeffler, pretty terrible. Herschel Walker, already better than her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Herschel Walker's kind of fucking insane.
Oh, we'll my God. Yeah. Isn't he just fuck, I can't remember any of the insane quotes, but he's got some insane anti-LGBT quotes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
God damn.
Kind of wild considering
while his son is Christian Walker.
I was about to say, kind of crazy considering who his son is.
Oh my goodness.
That is crazy, bro.
Quite the family dynamic there.
I really hope we see Christian Walker on the campaign trail.
Isn't he actively involved?
I'm sure he is, but I just haven't seen anything.
I hope he goes back on Hassan.
I hope so. Get Herschel Walker on Hassan.
Oh shit.
I think that sums it up for election news. I don't know when the next election. We might have to wait until further into the summer to get more election news, because I know Michigan's primaries are in August, similar with some other Midwest states. So
that's facts. Yeah, those are later on. There was some shit I think six GOP candidates were just disqualified from running in the Michigan governor's race for
what?
Fraud. Straight up just fraud.
I love how Republicans are the ones. Is it voter fraud?
Or no, just regular fraud.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Just I don't know. It may be impersonating. I didn't read the article, but I saw that, so that's really cool. Fun.
I know we should have some GOP primary debates for governor in July.
Oh,
in Michigan, so that'll be a lot of fun.
The 1 year anniversary of the pod.
Exactly. They're all of them running for governor in Michigan on the GOP side are just fucking crazy. I guess it's a trend.
Ooh, the cop, the Detroit police officer, police chief.
Yeah.
I think that was running. He got implicated in the fraud, so I think he can't run anymore. So let's go.
It was half the Republican ticket.
All of them, basically. Yeah. So that's cool. I fuck with that.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch.
Anyway, back to the absolutely very, very bad news this week. So SCOTUS did a thing, and it seems like every week they do a thing, and somehow it's a new groundbreakingly evil thing.
Yeah.
Week after week, and this week is absolutely no exception. So last Monday, SCOTUS literally ruled that innocence is not quote, innocence is not enough to get you off of death row. And in somehow more surprising news, this is not the first time that's happened.
Yeah.
There's precedent for that.
This is we'll get into a little bit more, but this news is so completely fucking out of pocket. So completely into, like, I can't even describe how insane it is, and it is getting completely swept under the rug. I understand why, but Jesus Christ.
I tried to like find more just videos about it so that I could do research while I was like cooking dinner, and there's like 3. There's a Vosh video, there's like some guy called the Progressive Report that I didn't know, but a decent channel, and then like an MSNBC video about it on YouTube. And that's fucking
This is like dystopia level shit.
That's what, like, just let that sit for a second. Innocence is not enough to get you off of death row.
And we're not exaggerating.
I know you didn't do the crime. However...
Yeah, we're not exaggerating either. Like, this is literally what it is.
So let's talk about it. Basically, like, the case that was decided on Monday was about this guy named Barry Jones, who was convicted, I want to say about 20 years ago, of raping and murdering his girlfriend's 4-year-old daughter. Jones appealed the decision and argued that he received ineffective counsel from both his state-appointed trial lawyer, so like the regular trial, and his state-appointed post-conviction lawyer, because he appealed the initial decision, and then the post-conviction lawyer was also dog shit. Yeah. Right? And after that, he submitted a habeas appeal. Yeah. There's a bunch of different fucking names for it. The law is very confusing. I'm just a humble like podcaster. You know what I mean?
We're not even gonna try because we'll get it wrong.
I'm not gonna try to like figure it out because I couldn't find out if there was a difference between a writ of habeas corpus. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He submitted a federal appeal to get his case in front of a federal judge, and he was able to have a federally appointed lawyer argue because they agreed that both his trial lawyer and his post conviction lawyer were dog shit. They did not do the things, and you'll see why. His lawyers were allowed to bring new evidence to the federal judge because of an actually good 2012 SCOTUS decision. I believe that was Martinez versus Ryan. But anyway, the federal lawyer brought up the fact that both of these state lawyers neglected to call expert witnesses. They had no medical examination done. They never questioned that there could possibly be another person that did it, straight up ignoring histories of abuse from the mother of the child and histories of abuse from other people in the families. And doctors have come out and said that there is no possible way that this little girl could have died from injuries within the time frame that the state presented. There's no possible way that he could have done that.
This was a case about somebody being raped and murdered, and there was no medical examination.
Yeah, there was a medical examination by the leading detective initially, and that was it. They didn't call a expert witness? 2 state-appointed lawyers never called an expert witness?
Yeah.
What? And also, I just want to point out just something that's kind of fucky in that the Arizona prosecutor is the one that went after him for this initially, right?
Yeah.
And so the state can simultaneously go after you and appoint you a lawyer because he couldn't afford a lawyer. He needed a public defender.
Yeah.
A little fucked, a little bit of a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
and right?
As we all know, public defenders may not like be bad lawyers, but they are overworked.
100% overworked and underpaid. Yeah. It's hard to be a public defender. But anyway, so after the federal judge concluded that there is a reasonable probability that the jury wouldn't have convicted him had this evidence been brought up, he ordered Arizona to either free Jones or retry him. And I'm sure you can guess, obviously, since you know what happened last Monday, Arizona decided to appeal that. For some fucking reason. They appealed it to the 9th Circuit where it was rejected, and then they appealed it to the Supreme Court, who for some fucking reason decided that this was worth taking on their very low caseload. Like, the Supreme Court has to be very deliberate in what they choose to take on. And they said, yeah, this is the one.
This dude
this
is
the
coming
one.
to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
This guy, Barry Jones, fuck him specifically. This is the one that we should take on.
Just to set a dog shit precedent. Another one.
Another dog shit. We'll get into it. The legislative meat of this debacle is basically a discrepancy between Martinez versus Ryan, the 2012 decision, that the decision was literally what allows people to bring new evidence to federal court when they've been inadequately represented within the state court.
Yeah.
The discrepancy between that and a 1996 law called the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act that we're going to refer to as ADPA. So ADPA was originally passed in order to prevent people like the Oklahoma City bomber from endlessly appealing their death penalty convictions. They didn't want them to just like tie up the federal courts, do the thing like that. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. But per deathpenaltyinfo.org, ADPA, quote, ADPA restricts federal review of habeas corpus appeals, limiting federal judges to overturning state courts only when a state court decision is not just wrong, but was contrary to or involved in an unreasonable application of clearly established federal law, or was based on an unreasonable determination of facts in light of evidence presented in the state court proceeding. ADPA also has a 1-year deadline to file habeas appeals once your conviction is finalized, which is not enough time to do fucking anything when it comes to the courts. 1 year? There are people who sit in jail for years just waiting for an initial trial.
Yeah.
You think that somebody can gather new evidence, meet with lawyers, meet with state or federally appointed lawyers if they can't afford them.
That are already overworked.
And get all the things submitted in 1 year? You really think that that's a good fucking idea, you piece of shit?
Absolutely not.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting to note, like, speaking of that, pre-ADPA, 40% of death row defendants succeeded in getting their verdict or sentence overturned. After ADPA, it was only 10%.
Wow.
I don't think that it just so happened that courts got better after this law. Like, magically, courts got better after this law, and they were convicting the right people.
This is just the let's get people killed faster law.
And also per deathpenalty.org, the reason that this law was passed was to speed up the courts, right? A 2007 study showed that it only lengthened the process of habeas appeals.
Oh, great.
It only added undue burden onto the courts.
Great.
You fucking love to see it. It's a bad law. Get rid of it. Another interesting note here. When the Ninth Circuit denied Arizona's petition, a Trump-appointed judge dissented, and he said, quote, "To the extent that it seems unfair that a petitionally meritorious claim might escape federal habeas review, that feature is inherent in the restrictions that ADPA imposes." He said, tough shit. Wow, you literally may be innocent. This law says that it's okay to fucking kill you?
He said, you may be innocent, but procedure says that I can kill you.
It's the epitome of procedural bullshit. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Procedure matters more than life and outcomes, apparently.
It's like, I just want to get into it because, like, the Martinez versus Ryan decision expanded your constitutional right to due process.
Very important.
It expanded the rights that the Sixth Amendment provides to you. You know what I mean? And this judge thinks it's okay to let this piece of legislation from 1996 that is a bad body of legislation, not good, wasn't going to foster good outcomes no matter how you spin it. They're gonna let that violate this. They're gonna let that law violate an expansion to your constitutional rights that was pre-established Supreme Court precedent.
It seems like having a 6-3 supermajority Supreme Court is leading to some outcomes that really just include the restrictions of civil liberties and civil rights.
But it's like,
I wonder why.
It's not even that. It's that isn't the whole process of judicial review. Like the Marbury versus Madison decision in 1803, judicial review, the Supreme Court has the right to look at legislation and determine if it's unconstitutional or not. Doesn't the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution, in the system that these people set up, mind you, trump a piece of legislation?
You'd think so.
Shouldn't that legislation be unconstitutional if it's infringing on your Sixth Amendment rights granted in Martinez versus Ryan, a Supreme Court precedent?
No. States' rights.
Literally. But like fucking literally. And it's not like precedent matters to the Supreme Court. Obviously, Roe v. Wade.
It never matters.
But still.
It only matters insofar as it serves their political agenda. Like
it's wild that they'll spit on their own power too.
Yeah.
Like judicial review is like a good thing. Like I would say that judicial review is a pretty decent thing.
It allows the Supreme Court would be powerless without it. Yeah.
Exactly. It literally just depends on the makeup of the Supreme Court because it's a political body, you know? But I digress. Let's get back to that. ADPA, it's the line about evidence in state courts that's obviously fucky here. And what SCOTUS is saying is that with their most recent ruling, it doesn't matter if you didn't have a fair trial. That just does not fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. What?
Here's the thing, people. Due process is a very cool and based thing. Very, very important for a democracy. I would argue vital for free society.
Yeah.
Due process matters a lot. And if you're not able to get that because the Supreme Court justices are going to argue that a state has a right to murder you, to kill you, even if you are innocent, that's dystopia to me. That's crazy.
You have a right to fair representation. And he proved in front of panels of state judges, in front of panels of federal judges, that he was not given adequate representation. I've given you the evidence that would literally clear his name. It's out there. And the Supreme Court said, procedural bullshit. I'm sorry. There's this law from 96 that we just can't trump. We just can't let
Arizona
it do anything.
is just, they have a right to kill you, big dog.
Yeah, but I don't understand why they would want to take this case. I don't understand why the Arizona prosecutor is so fucking adamant about killing this dude.
Right. It was simply just to reaffirm a state's power to issue the death penalty.
Like, for what reason?
Yeah.
For what fucking reason? And it's like, ADPA has been reaffirmed multiple times through the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
This isn't new. Like, that's what shocked me the most about it, because I'd seen the headline and I was like, oh, this has got to be a new thing.
Yeah.
It's not. Multiple times has the Supreme Court said, innocence is not enough. Multiple times have state Supreme Courts said, innocence is not enough. Judges just at the regular circuit level, at the state level, has said innocence is not enough to clear your name and get you off of death row.
You would think that people would realize that there's something fundamentally wrong with our political and judicial systems if innocence isn't enough to set you free. If despite evidence, clear evidence of innocence, you can still be killed for a crime that you clearly did not commit.
Like, what's the fucking logic here? What's the fucking
There's
logic
no
here?
logic.
The logic here is that, like, the legislative logic here is that ADPA, they shouldn't have been able to get this appeal to the federal court to be heard anyway, because ADPA says that you can't show evidence that wasn't presented in a state trial. Why was that a good idea?
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea? And the law passed, I think, 93 to 7 in 96. Joe Biden voted for it, of course.
Let's go. That's my president.
But why is that a good idea? Why can't you bring it up? Well, in Clarence Thomas's interpretation of the instance, and what's unique about this modern ruling is he specifically cites the monetary cost of a not even of a new trial, of having a federal judge look at new evidence. He said, I'm sorry, but the couple $1,000 is literally worth more than your fucking life, even though you're an innocent man.
Ridiculous.
Even though you're an innocent man.
And I know you mentioned the law was like intended to prevent terrorists from being able to tie up the legal or the judicial system, to prevent them from being able to just constantly appeal and never have to or just be able to basically postpone their punishment.
Yeah.
I would rather terrorists be able to do that than any innocent person be killed by the state.
Exactly. So one, I don't believe in the death penalty fucking anyway.
Yeah.
Mostly for reasons like this. Well, for reasons like this and moral reasons, I don't believe in the fucking death penalty. And two, a fucking terrorist like the Oklahoma bomber is going to have any appeal immediately dismissed by a federal court. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say, conservatives love just picking the most extreme case and saying, like, what if that happens literally every day? It's like, no, it's going to be people like Barry Jones trying to not be killed by the state for a crime he didn't commit because he had bad legal representation.
And then people like Clarence Thomas, the people in the position of power here, can say that it's literally okay to kill you because they don't want to pay for a fair trial. Yeah. Wild. This is coming from the people that literally bust to the Constitution.
Literally, just sleeps with it.
They're just going to let a shitty law obfuscate expansions to your Sixth Amendment rights.
Yeah.
What's up with that? It's almost as if conservatives don't care about fucking rights like they say they do, unless it's mass shootings in the Second Amendment and cancel culture in the First Amendment.
Unless it's just doing bad things.
None of the other amendments fucking matter to them. Unless, they're taking them away. They're taking a fundamental right away from you.
I try to be charitable, when I'm thinking about other people's ideologies, but sometimes I literally just think that conservatives have their brain wired backwards. And they think all bad things are good and all good things are bad.
I just can't anymore. Seeing things like this,
how do you reach these conclusions and say, yeah, that's a just society?
That's okay. This is okay.
Kids being gunned down in school, we don't need to restrict gun rights. We don't need to reform guns at all. But should the state be able to kill you despite your evidence? Yeah.
I've seen in the articles I was reading to prepare for this, I've seen judges come out and that judge for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Trump appointee, basically all of them fucking were because that dude got to stack the system, saying shit like judges shouldn't be able to trump these laws. That's the point of judicial review, you fucking idiot.
I like how they just selectively use their power, and anytime they don't take action against something that's clearly unjust, they can just be like, procedure.
I thought you liked the Constitution.
Yeah.
You're in bed with it all the fucking time. You constantly invoke the Constitution when you say the N-word.
Yeah. What's the old moniker that our judicial systems were founded on the idea that we'd rather let 100 guilty people go free than one innocent person ever face punishment for a crime they didn't do? Just doesn't matter.
Literally the opposite.
That should be the foundation of our judicial system along with due process, and we're violating both.
I would rather pass a hyper-specific law about a couple instances of terrorism that happened in the 90s, but the future instances of terrorism, if it involves gun violence, I'm not going to do anything about.
Exactly. Yeah, that doesn't matter.
But the bombing ones, that's okay. I would rather pass those laws so they can't maybe submit one extra appeal that's going to get denied anyway.
Yeah.
And let a bunch of innocent people get fucking murdered.
As Gage said last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, I don't even remember, the Supreme Court only exists because we believe in it, only works because we believe in it. Maybe we should stop.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, these political institutions aren't real. Like, they're just people in buildings. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to believe in it.
Maybe the Supreme Court's always been like this, but I feel like today's Supreme Court is just uniquely fucking evil.
I know. Uniquely evil.
They're taking your right away. They're taking your right to due process away. They just shrunk it. Just because. Just because they want to.
It's not even a thing, like, in the public eye. There was no outrage about this. Like, again, this issue has existed, and no one was really freaking out about it, maybe even though we should have been. And they just did it for fun.
Yeah.
Like, just because they like to.
Because they love procedure. Because, but these are the laws.
Yeah. Wasn't it a 6-3 vote?
Yeah.
It was John Roberts.
It was a 6-3 vote. Sotomayor, she wrote the dissenting opinion. It was pretty based. Pretty based. She's like the most based justice on there anyway.
Because she's a normal fucking human. And like, maybe you shouldn't die if there's... Maybe our political systems should exist to produce good outcomes, not exist to just uphold procedure that is already arbitrary.
Exactly.
The procedures should produce good outcomes. Our focus should never be solely on the procedures, because the procedures are tools. They are not the point of the system.
Laws are constructs.
Yes.
They aren't floating in the air. They aren't tangible. And they're our best attempt to codify morality. And when a law is clearly immoral, it should just be fucking ignored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then again, I can't wrap my head around why prosecutors like the Arizona prosecutor are so horny to fucking kill this guy. Why appeal it past the fucking federal court? Why pull up this obscure law from 1996 that literally doesn't do any of the things that it's really supposed to do and is only used to kill innocent people?
Yeah,
it seems like it's only ever invoked to just kill an innocent person.
That is a good question. It's like, why is this? Was it like a district attorney from Arizona?
It's
or
the
attorney
AG.
General?
It's the attorney general.
Why are you so hell-bent on getting this guy?
Literally.
Like, it's been what, 20 years or 10 years or whatever since this guy was convicted? Like, chill out.
Fuck, dude.
What's the point?
Like, how can you sit here? How can you sit there and go to sleep at night when you've heard the evidence that was brought to the federal judge? The federal judge decided no reasonable jury, if hearing about this, would convict this man.
Yeah.
The federal judge decided the state system didn't work.
Like, I know the attorney general's job is to, like, always to represent it's their job in the job of their team to represent the state in courts and protect the state's interests, that kind of thing. But this is one guy. And you are now semi-responsible for this terrible precedent that has been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court.
How is it?
You could have dropped it.
How is it in the state's best interest to reaffirm this thing? Because it's like... There's the states' rights angle, which, like, Clarence Thomas is saying that this right is, like, the state's right to do. Yeah. Right? But in reaffirming ADPA... You're reaffirming a federal law. Yeah. Like, you're basing your state's rights argument on a federal law.
It's funny how it seems pervasive throughout our entire political system that procedure just is literally killing people. Like, the filibuster is literally the reason that gun reform, voting rights, abortion protection, all that is not passing.
Any civil rights thing.
But you get the idea. Like, it's just the filibuster. Like, it's procedure that is preventing people from hanging on to their civil rights. Insane. And it's procedure like protecting this law that is clearly bad and producing bad outcomes.
And people get up there and say we should respect these institutions.
Yeah.
We respect institutions that don't respect the life of an innocent fucking person. Baffling.
Like, he's already been in jail for like 10 years, right?
20 something like that.
He's already been in jail for 20 years. He already lost like an enormous chunk of his life to this fight that he's been innocent in this whole time. And like, that's punishment enough.
And he's sitting on death row.
Yeah, and he's sitting on death row.
And it's there's a good John Oliver section just about like just shit like this, and he talks about ADPA, and he talks about other cases and how ADPA has been used, and he pulls up clips from trials at your AGs arguing at the California Supreme Court, just a bunch of different attorneys arguing, and they literally say, quote, innocence is not enough.
How can that be?
Innocence is not enough.
How can that be?
And then there's one quote from the California Supreme Court where he said innocence isn't enough. One of the justices on the court argued back and they said, yeah, okay, maybe like it isn't because of this law, but how can you do that? Mm-hmm. And he said, because of the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act. Mm-hmm. How do you go to fucking sleep at night?
Yeah.
How do you go to sleep at night? Maybe if the death penalty should be so final, and if innocence isn't enough, it wouldn't be such a big deal if Barry Jones and the Arizona AG just happened to switch places.
Yeah. I know, like I think it was Clarence Thomas was using the argument that like allowing him to like keep getting retrials because he has bad counsel undermines like the finality of the decision.
Yeah,
it's like, dog, good,
exactly,
it should
good.
Not be final. If you are an innocent person, there shouldn't be any finality in the decision that you're gonna fucking die.
Maybe Clarence Thomas and maybe. Six of the justices on the Supreme Court, if innocence isn't enough, should just switch places with Barry Jones. I don't know.
It's just ridiculous.
Just a thought. Innocence isn't enough.
Innocence isn't enough. Fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. I love the Supreme Court. I love the conservative supermajority just literally ripping rights away from people. I
respect the institution of the Supreme Court.
Like not only are they engaging in very clearly political drama, like with abortion rights and stuff like that, but they're just attacking rights that no one's even thinking about. Mm-hmm. And no one's paying attention to because I guarantee this isn't being covered that much.
It's not a widely publicized story.
Sad.
There's a really good article by The Intercept. I got a lot of this information from that you should read. You should check out deathpenalty.org, all that stuff for a bunch of base things. Because, apparently I don't do my research.
Yeah. You don't even know that Brussels is in Belgium.
I know. Fuck me, I guess.
Absurd. We'll include some of those links down in the description. You can check it out if you want to.
As always.
I think that brings us to the end of the episode.
I do.
Hope it wasn't too awful. Another sad news week. Not much else to say other than that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad week. Bad. Here's to next week.
Yeah, pretty bad. Let's hope we can get something fun next week. Hopefully we can get some debate coverage sometime soon. Something funny to talk about. But I hope y'all are holding up, and we got to thank our financial backers. We got to thank our patrons before we go. So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Terrence Nicholson, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, John G, The B-Plot, Clayton LaForte, Ash Fairblood, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B, Satan's Menstrual Cycle, The Mind Sculptors, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Meyer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, and Max Vasquez. Thank you. And my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. You're our heroes.
You are.
You are a shining light while you are immersed in darkness.
Fuck National Police Week. I need a National Patrons Week.
Yeah. National thank the 46 patrons that are on Head in the Office.
That's right.
That's the National Week this time. Just Google 40% of Hito patrons to find out more. Have a good week, everyone.
Have a good week.